Hey folks, Dude here, coming at you on Thursday, September 3rd. And we have a bit of a knee update. Now, the thing was, I actually went and talked to an actual orthopedic guy. His thing is full-on, total, complete, and absolute knee replacements. Literally reading like between femur and tibia, hack, hack, chop, chop, new parts, bing, bang, boom. Literally two pieces of metal with a piece of plastic in between that everything's kind of rolling on and makes it nice and good. Now, I've been having issues. Literally, I was walking up a flight of stairs. And believe it or not, at church, I was walking up a flight of stairs and felt something go. Okay, something's really, really wrong here. Now, this is an old injury, okay? Man, I blew my knee out like, 2003, 2004, something like that. And it's been an ongoing thing for the longest time. And I have 3 arthroscopies currently in my left knee. Literally what they do is they poke a couple holes and they run something about the diameter of like a pencil or a pen. Roughly about a 10 millimeter hole at best. So they stick the thing in there, basically got one that's a camera, one that's a tool. They basically go in there and they clean things up and they kind of play like, almost like you're playing like grab a thing, like, that little crane kind of a toy thing that you always find like the arcade games. Kind of like that, you're basically fishing things out. And it also has other tools on board. There's actually like a nibbler. And there's actually like other ones that they could do. They can actually shoot sutures and, stick things back together. They have picks they can go in there and grind on various things. And they can make things bleed so they heal better. And the case in point is the physiology of the human knee is not good, okay? It's very easy to injure. There's a bunch of ligaments and cartilage and a whole bunch of other things you could really mess up. Case in point, what I've done myself is, if you look at the femur end, which would of course be the top bone from your hip to your knee, it ends in what's classically looks like the dog bone. You basically have 2 ends that basically look like, round balls. Now those 2 balls sit in something called meniscus. Now the bottom bones would be the tibia and the fibula on the top bottom half of your leg from ankle to knee. Now, there's something referred to as the tibial shelf. That's really just a flat piece of bone where the meniscus, which would be the anterior and the medial, read like inside and outside, sit side by side like a figure 8. Those 2 ball ends of your femur sit in those 2 pieces of meniscus and give your knee some stability. Now, the thing about it is your knee basically just bent back and forwards. As soon as you turn to it, break. So there is some rotation built in. You actually do have a little bit of rotation built into your knee. You can actually move those 2 parts, and they have a little bit of give. All the ligaments and everything hold everything in place. And I went and saw the doctor and said, okay, something is not right. So he said, okay, well, we'll kick you into the x-ray room and we'll get an x-ray first. Now, the first time they did the x-ray, they basically laid me down, so supine. There's no weight bearing on there that doesn't show you what the knee will actually look like under stress and load. And, yeah, that's going to be Panther. That's actually Panther. Panther is downstairs making his video appearance. Premiere video appearance. So anyway, the situation is it basically laid me down and it doesn't put weight on the joint. So this doctor said, you know what, we actually want to put load on it and see how everything is meshing together, if you're grinding stuff or if things are still cushioned. So case in point, let me put my naked x-ray knee on camera. So literally you have top femur, bottom, tibia and fibula, tibia being the big bone, tibia, fibula being the smaller bone. And you can see that there is space. There is space between these 2 items. There is space. Now, anytime you have space, that means that there is cushion. In the process of things being cushioned, they're not grinding bone on bone. But the problem is because some of that stuff is kind of rough, I have something known as crepitus. Now, crepitus is just simply describing things grinding and popping, clicking, pinging, panging, ponging, it makes noise. My knee always cracks, pops, pings, and, if I move at the wrong iteration, I can get a big crack out of it, just like, cracking your knuckles. But literally for me, it's like pop. Like other people, I look around and going, dude, was that you? It's like, yeah, that was me. And it's been like that for a long time. Now, essentially, after the latest injury, I have been swimming. We have a very good swim club near us, and we are members to a fairly small group of people that is part of the men's club for this men's club, which has a pool. Now, the thing about it is you got to know somebody to know somebody to know somebody to get in there, or you don't get in there, okay? There's a minimal amount of knuckleheads in this place, and it is a very nice family-oriented place. I think I've only seen one scrap since I was there, and it's basically some guy yelling at some housewife, and the housewife saying, "My kid didn't do that." It's like, yeah, your kid did. That's about the biggest thing I've ever seen in there. The coolest thing about this place is you literally can take your wallet, you can take your phone, you can put it in a bag, leave your bag poolside. Nobody messes with your stuff. Nobody. There's a bunch of grills around here. It's a really nice place, and it's one of those things that's kind of cool. Now, I'm going kind of round here, but the thing about it is, I want to express to you, literally, it's a very good-sized pool, and I have been swimming, wading, walking, basically light loading and light rehabbing my knee. Now, the nice thing about water is it does three things. It cushions your impetus of motion. 2, it is constant resistance in a very smooth and easy manner on injured joints. Number 3, and this is the biggest one of all, is you get in water, your mass stays the same, but your weight on the injured joint is much less. So if you have something that's messed up and you want to rehab yourself and you don't want to keep stressing the crap out of it in the healing process, get into a pool and just start moving around, swimming gently. Try not to make snappy movements in the water, because that's just going to do more shock to the injured joint, and it's going to make things harder. But it is about the best, easiest way to rehab yourself with minimal stress on something that is hurt. So in the course of the summertime, you can see I've actually picked up a pretty good amount of tan, obviously by, watch tan versus rested tan. That's my baseline, and that's where I went to. So I've actually been outside quite a bit. And by swimming around and just, being very careful, walking stairs. Now, that's the other thing, too, is you have to walk up and down stairs. You have to work the joint through range of motion. Now, the thing about it is the knee will go from 0 to 140 degrees. I'm about 130-ish or so I'm pretty close to max. I really don't like to stress it further than that because it just hurts. Literally, I'm taking something that's not great to begin with. I've already had a bunch of arthroscopies beforehand to clean stuff out, so I am down on tissue. That's the other thing, too, is you get around the half-century mark where I am, you don't have genesis for new stuff, growing. And the other thing, too, it kind of sucks, is on the meniscus, there's two sides. You have the anterior and you have the medial, so basically front and rear. One side has blood supply. The other side has no blood supply. And the other thing, too, is also as you get older, there is less chance for that tissue to heal. Knees don't heal particularly great to begin with because there's not a lot of blood flow in there. There's really not great blood supply in your knee. Pretty much it's an encapsulated thing. It really kind of does its own stuff. And it has synovial fluid, which is kind of about the same thing as like egg white. Kind of acts like a lubricant, makes things move and smooth and, cushions. And, so basically these things are kind of coming into play here. Now, what they did with me is they basically cleaned out my anterior and medial meniscus wherever there was tears, wherever there was frayed edges. I actually did have a piece floating around about the size of my little fingernail at one point. I actually had a piece floating around in there. That was not fun. Kept locking the joint, kept getting in between the bones, kept floating around, never really felt great. It's kind of like having that stone in your shoe that makes you kind of walk weird. So that literally was what that was like. So in this latest visit, the doctor basically said, okay, here's what we got going on here. He goes, manipulate, feel, hurt, ouch, no, this, okay, move this around, move that around, relax, move everything around, kind of feel, touch, grind, pull. And he goes, you know what? Looking at the way things are spaced out, you are not bone on bone, okay? You are not that arthritic. Yes, I could give you a cortisone shot and knock it down for a while. But he goes, I don't think that's going to really come into play here. I think what you've done is you've done more damage to your meniscus, and you probably are a candidate for another arthroscopy. You're not a candidate for a knee replacement. So that's the long and the short of that one. I don't need a new knee. And the other thing, too, is also, in the process of me rehabbing this, I have come back not quite to where I was previously, okay? I actually have lost a couple of notches in terms of where I am in terms of ability, but my pain level, my flexibility, and my ability to bear weight and move around, and of course, day-to-day stuff has diminished. Now, the other thing, too, is it still hurts, okay? I mean, this knee always hurts, okay? But the thing about it is I've actually worked it out to the point now where they will tell you anytime you do an injury to your knee, the most important muscle to get strong is your quadriceps. In other words, the muscle down the front of your leg, because what that does is it pulls everything into place and keeps it taut. So as long as you got your quads tight and you got your quads somewhat in shape, you are doing better. There's only two ways to get that to do that. You have to walk. You have to work out in the process of walking, and you have to do some stairs. Now, when you're doing stairs, don't be afraid to grab the rails and have some weight taken off. And that's literally what I've been doing. I mean, you know, I'm not exactly a small person, but going up and down the stairs and using the rails to diminish my body weight a little bit takes a lot of the load off, but yet still makes me work this muscle group out. Now, that's the thing, too, is also I am a candidate for more surgery, but I don't have to get the big surgery. I can get the lesser surgery. So that's where I am currently with the knee stuff on September 3rd, 2015. I'm looking at another surgery, but it is a lesser surgery. As a matter of fact, arthroscopy is an outpatient procedure. It is full anesthesia. I mean, they knock you out. You're done. You know, you basically wake up in the recovery room and you go, okay, great, cool, whatever. But they want you to be lightly ambulatory. Don't stress it for a while. Have a healing process. Rehab, do the physical therapy, and come back to some level closer to back to where you were before you were injured. And the thing about it is also it's a case of this is an old injury on an older injury on a newer injury on an old injury with fixes and fixes and fixes and fixes. And the problem is also every time they go in there, this is the worst part about surgery. Every time they go into the human body and they do some work, they make scar tissue. Scar tissue is not flesh. It is not skin. It is not your normal tissue. It is something that your body is using as a bandage to go from here to here and stick the two parts back together again. It is not skin. It is scar. And every time you do that, scar tissue can migrate. It can propagate and it can grow and make things worse. So sometimes they might need to go in there and clean out some scar tissue. In the process of doing that, they make more scar tissue. Oh, F my life. Oh, well. All right, folks, I'm going to break up on this one. You got to keep it tender, as always. You know it, you love it. But if you wreck something, see the medicos. Get looked at by the professionals. They are the guys who can tell you one way or the other. You trying to use yourself as a judgment for what's really, really wrong is not the best thing. You're not your best doctor, just like, you know, they say doctors should never, ever be their own doctors and lawyers should never, ever represent themselves. Same thing when you're the patient. Know stuff. Talk to the doctor, show that you're competent, but do not ever try to self-diagnose because most of the time, you're wrong. I was really wrong on this one. See you guys.